What's going on, everybody? My name is TrendKiLL, and welcome back to another episode of Know Your Enemy. So in Know Your Enemy, we take a look at specific gods and talk about how you should play against those gods or what those gods might do should you find them on the enemy team. We're going to be talking about their strengths, their weaknesses, their abilities, and we're also going to be talking about some tips that you can look out for as you're playing against them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the guide. Today we're going to be talking about Athena, the goddess of wisdom. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is take a look at Athena's graph. Now, normal things stand out. Control, defense, those things are very normal for a Guardian type character. However, her mobility is very high simply due to the fact that she has a dash and a global ultimate. Athena is a very utility-based Guardian. And when I say utility, I mean her utility in the match, not her stat utility on this graph. Even though that stat is actually pretty good, she can do a lot of things with her 4 abilities. Now, she obviously has no healing, otherwise there would be something on that graph, and the damage that she does is moderate. However, if you build her damage to play her in like a jungler role, she can actually have a lot of success due to her high control. Now, Athena's kit lends her to be one of the best Guardians in the game, and she's pretty much been one of the better Guardians since she's come out. So let's take a look at her kit and figure out why she's so good. So first off, let's talk about her passive Reach. Essentially, anytime she uses ability, she gains a ranged basic attack that passes through all the enemies it hits and deals an additional 25% of her magic power as damage. This gives her a little bit of wave clear potential. This also adds a bit of damage to her ability to jungle and things like that. And when she's playing in the tank role, which is 90% of the time, this gives her a little bit of poke. Her first ability, Preemptive Strike, does a lot of things. First off, this is her dash. She basically charges up this ability. Once it's charged, she can release the ability, dashing forward through everything except for gods, and she will stop at the first god she hits. Now, when she hits that god, she deals a little bit of damage, slows the god for 25%, and builds a stack of block. Block absorbs the next basic attack from any god that hits her. Now, she can build up 3 block stacks, and late game, if she happens to find herself against the enemy hunter, and he's got a full build, and he's critting for 7, 8, 900, she's got the ability to avoid over 2,000 damage in those autos. So that adds a real interesting mechanic to her tankiness. Her second ability, Confound, is one of the very few taunts in the game. Essentially, in a large cone in front of her, she taunts all enemies to attack her. Now, this is arguably one of the best crowd controls in the entire game. Yes, Ymir's freeze lasts a little bit longer, and they don't deal damage to Ymir while they're frozen. However, Ymir freezes them in place. Athena has the ability to pull somebody out of position. Not to mention, in a game like SMITE, it is very disorienting to not have control of your character. Her third ability, Shield Wall, is just an AoE area damage ability. However, it deals damage in a slightly different way. First off, it deals damage as she lays the shield wall down. Secondly, it deals damage as the shield wall's duration expires. So if you happen to hit somebody with the initial damage and the end of ability damage, this thing could actually hurt. You're talking about 560 plus 100% of your magical power in one normal ability. That's nuts. And speaking of nuts, her ultimate, Defender of Olympus, is probably the best Guardian ultimate in the game. And I don't even know if that's opinion, that's pretty much fact. This is a global ultimate, meaning that anytime one of Athena's allies is anywhere on the map, she can target them and basically teleport to them. Now, it's got a 4-second charge time on it. It's got a 4.2-second charge up time. However, during that charge time, the ally that you are trying to teleport to mitigates 20% additional damage. And when the teleport happens, Athena slams down on the ground, doing 750 plus 90% of her magical power. Not to mention, she's got her full kit available, obviously other than her ultimate, as soon as she lands. So this has so much utility, and this is why on her chart she had so much mobility. This ultimate can be used in so many different ways, and we'll get into that in the mechanics section. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into some tips in the mechanics section. Alright, so in the mechanics section, we're going to go over some tips for how to play against an Athena. Now, unlike the last couple videos, this one has a lot of tips in it, so this may be longer than most other videos. Now, even further than that, this list is pretty long, but it's still probably not everything that one could go over in an Athena guide. So, if I miss some tips, don't hate me, there's just a lot to go over. So first off, let's talk about Preemptive Strike. This is her first ability and her dash. Now remember, there is about a 1-second charge time on this ability, but once she has it charged, she can leave it charged. Now there's one caveat to that. If she is CC'd at any time during that charge, or once that ability is charged, she has to recharge it. That can be really frustrating for an Athena who charges her dash up, gets stunned, charges her dash up again, gets mezzed, charges her dash up again, and gets taunted. And by the time she charges up for the 4th time, she just like, get me out of here. So while this ability gives her good mobility, it's definitely not one of the most reliable dashes in the game. Now, in addition to that, this ability will not go through enemy gods. Now, that is good and bad for Athena, in the sense that if she's trying to dash to stop you, it will hit you. And not only will it hit you, it will damage you and slow you. This is bad for Athena if she's trying to get away. So, if an Athena is trying to run from you, make sure you step in front of her so she can't use her dash to get away. And last but not least, there are a couple combos that Athena can use with this ability that really increase her ability to engage a fight. First off, unlike most other Guardians in the game, she can really close the distance on you and your laning partner, and if she gets too close, she can taunt you into a shield wall and do a decent amount of damage herself, all the while her hunter in her lane with her is also doing damage to you. So with that combo, Athena is a threat almost from the start of the game. Another thing she can do is that by level 2 or 3, Athena can almost clear a full wave. She can easily clear the archers with just her own abilities. So what she can do is she can step ahead of her minion wave, dash through the enemy minion wave, turn around, throw her spear from reach through the wave, then drop shield wall and throw another spear through the wave because of the 2 abilities, and by the end of that, the archers are almost dead, if not dead, at level 2. So never underestimate Athena's ability to clear a wave. Now let's talk about her second ability, Confound. This is her taunt, and this is like a lot of the other CC abilities in the game. Purification beads or some kind of CC removal or cleansing ability is required to have against an Athena. Her ability to group up enemies in a late game team fight is astronomical. If you do not beads out of it and spread out, you are setting yourself up for several area of effect ultimates that may wipe your team. Another benefit of this ability is that Athena can control where she wants you to go by moving herself because you are chasing her or trying to attack her. So in a situation where maybe Athena's laning with an Artemis and Artemis has a trap on the ground, Athena can taunt you back into that trap, increasing the duration that you're crowd controlled. That is a disgusting combination, and you are pretty much dead unless you have beads early on. Her third ability, Shield Wall, is pretty much just a damaging ability. However, there's a subtle nuance that you need to know about the combination between Shield Wall and Confound. Remember, Shield Wall can hit twice. So a lot of the times what you'll see somebody do is if Athena's close enough, she'll hit you with the initial damage on Shield Wall, and as you try to run away from her, she'll taunt you back in to the second burst of damage from Shield Wall. Now, she's not always going to have the opportunity to do that, but when she does, it can hurt more than you'd think coming from a Guardian. And finally, let's take some time to talk about her ultimate. Again, this is probably the best Guardian ultimate in the game because it gives her so much battle utility. First off, let's talk about the insane gank potential. Essentially, let's assume Athena is on the left-hand side of the map in the long lane, and the short lane happens to be on the right-hand side of the map, and the jungler on Athena's team is getting ready to gank the solo lane. If there is good communication and teamwork on Athena and the jungler's part, Athena can stay in her lane until the right moment in which she can turn towards the jungler, ultimate on the jungler, and then be in the solo lane for a double gank. All other Guardians can gank other lanes as well, but they all have travel time to get there, which causes several problems. One being, they have to walk all the way across the map to get to that lane, which means they might miss out on some experience. 2 being, they leave their hunter alone in the duo lane, leaving him open to a possible death. And 3, if the enemy duo lane notices that the tank is gone for an extended period of time, they're going to call out missings and let everybody know that they should be careful. Athena, on the other hand, does not have to travel, can stay in her lane defending her hunter and gaining experience the entire time, and at last second can ult over to the solo lane on the jungler, and the enemy team only has 4 seconds to respond. That type of power and utility is what makes this ultimate the best Guardian ultimate in the game. Now that's just talking about using it offensively. Let's talk about using it defensively. What happens on the flip side of that scale when you see the enemy jungler getting ready to gank your solo lane? Athena has the opportunity to use her ultimate to travel over to her solo laner, one, reducing the damage that they're going to take while she's traveling. When she gets there, she then has her full kit other than her ultimate to drop on the enemies that are trying to gank the solo laner. And three, the ultimate itself may just scare them away altogether. So as you're playing against an Athena, just know that she can be anywhere using her ultimate for any purpose at any time in the game. And last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about one tip that's probably rarely going to be seen, but it has happened several times in my games and may happen in yours. You're in a team fight and Athena's taken a lot of damage. Well, most Guardians might have to back off, meaning the team might have to back off because they don't have that Guardian protection around them. Somebody like Amir may have to go off into the jungle, back, and then walk all the way back up to the fight. Athena, however, can sneak off into the jungle, back, and then as soon as she backs, she can ultimate out of the well and be right back in the fight in 10 to 15 seconds. Now, 10 to 15 seconds is a long time in a Smite fight, however, that's a lot shorter than all of the other Guardians in the game. So anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for the episode. Athena can be pretty hard to play against, but hopefully this video has helped you learn enough about her to where you don't feel completely lost. If you guys have any questions, comments, or anything like that, make sure you leave them down in the comment section below, or follow me on Twitter at TrendKiLLV01 and ask me a question over there. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me, and make sure you come back next time when we're gonna be talking about Zeus, the god of gods.